your stage and your media presence and turn.
So I'm hoping I misheard you. Did you just ask?
I did. I just asked if I'm going to be talking about the Supreme Court ruling against Cox Communications.
I see now where the confusion was. Without context.
That was
a
a
different
little
kind
scary.
of question. I was thinking, like,
exactly.
what kind of show do you think this is?
Jesus, Andrew.
I
can't take you anywhere.
You guys are funny. You guys sound like 5-year-olds. I'm the teacher. Like, guys, we need to focus.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Yulia?
I'm great. How are you guys? I mean, I've been working on podcasts, made some videos. SZA posted one of my videos on her story and it got 300,000 views. I mean, it already had 1.2 million and today it has 1.6 million, all because of SZA. So that's really exciting.
Piggyback your way to success.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's
excited.
Incredible. What was your video about?
It's the video about Angel Ortiz and Keith Haring, the one I showed you in your class, about how Keith Haring's
I love that
the
one.
art world forgot about Angel Ortiz and didn't give him credit. And everybody thinks Keith Haring was by himself. But in the beginning of his career, he was collaborating with a 14-year-old Puerto Rican boy who was tagging all over the Lower East Side. And because he was 14, I mean, they kind of like pushed him out. But there are pictures. He tagged all over the paintings. So if you look at LA2 or LA Rock in Keith Haring's paintings, you could see his tags.
All of us Puerto Ricans are overlooked all the time. Boricua!
Yeah.
There we go. No, that's awesome. It's a wonderful story. And congratulations. And it's so cool that SZA was interested in that context.
Yeah, I'm excited because
cool.
I feel like I could make more content like that, like just more videos about artists who have been forgotten or who are overlooked, and I can like make content about that. That's something that I'm working on.
So original content, but featuring existing things for everybody's benefit, including your own. By the
yeah,
sounds.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, the thing is, artists are so undercredited so many times in the industry, and I think it's important that you raise that awareness. Most artists, especially in visual arts, they don't become famous until they pass away.
Mm-hmm.
But I was reading an article about the Supreme Court that just didn't pass, it overruled a lawsuit against Cox Communications. And that's basically they're an internet server, sort of like AT&T or any of the other internet servers that we use. And basically they were being sued by the record companies for piracy. And the Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to hold the companies liable. We're going to hold the individuals liable. So basically, that's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really tough for content creators or songwriters trying to make a living and survive. So what do you think about that? I mean, physical goods is ownership. When we talk about music and art, it's experience and expression. And is music now data? I mean,
it always was in this regard in terms of piracy, which is what this case is about. I think all the way back to LimeWire and Napster, if anyone remembers who they are, there was the beginning of the streaming problem where people were sharing music using early torrent technologies. One thing that's changed since then is that a lot of torrent traffic is encrypted. It's fully encrypted. And so no one in the middle can see what is going, through the pipes. And so I really don't know what enforcement of this kind of law then looks at. If people are peer-to-peer sharing with no encryption, then that can be intercepted. But if there is encryption, I really don't know how it's going to be enforced at all.
I think music is free now. I mean, essentially, unless you're huge, you're using it as a promotion and for concerts and for merchandise. I mean, I just have to put myself into the mix saying that I literally had a secondary income as a songwriter, able to make royalties, and that doesn't really happen anymore. Who's protecting the creator, who's protecting the artist, and what does it mean, or how are we going to move forward on this as to content, sharing, piracy, individual responsibility as opposed to corporate responsibility?
What's interesting is that, the Cox case is Cox versus Universal, right? So it's a music company. But what's interesting to me is that I would have thought that the primary damage would be to movie companies, because it's movie studios that I think suffer much more from this type of piracy than music. I think there are more people pirating movies successfully and more easily.
But movie makers get paid to make the movie. Musicians don't get paid to make the music.
Well, Universal getting paid every which way.
That's true. I'm not saying the record companies aren't ripping them off and coming out of it on the other side, but I just thought it was an interesting segue from talking about Ortiz being the tagger on a painting and not getting credit for it at all, and then Keith going on to become very famous. I mean, it's a similar thing sometimes. It's like when is credit supposed to be where credit is due, and how do we protect ourselves? How do we teach the public to, would the word be, honoring the work that we do and respecting the work that we do? And we don't become wallpaper, because without music, I do believe we would be a very sad world.
I agree. I think one of the ways in which we help with that is for artists to show their process. When artists are online showing what their craft and their art, that's one of the ways that the art public go, oh, wow. That's what you do. You have all this gear and you know how to use it, and you can play this and you can sing this, and these are your lyrics and this is your experience, and here's where you shot your video because it's important to you, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's the way that we help the public kind of connect with the art that's gone into it.
The story, definitely the story of why you wrote that song too.
I definitely agree because I tell my students all the time, like, people have to see you as a human. And if you don't show your process, they're just going to see you as a machine. Like, oh, look at this perfect music. So you have to point not only the camera at your at the finished product, you have to point the camera at yourself while the process is happening. And then people will start to understand, like, this is a person that's this is my life. This is what I'm doing. And you take them on the journey with you, and they will be there with you. But if you're only showing the finished product, which I think I live in Burbank, so this place is like, used to be crazy manufacturing of film and television and even music. And now it's a lot sleepier. And so I just think that it's important to show the process, because a lot of music is not necessarily coming from big cities. It's coming from smaller towns, and people maybe in their bedrooms or whatever. Show your process no matter what. That's what I say.
That's so cool. Did you hear about Charlie Puth's new record? Speaking of letting people know yourself. So Taylor Swift had a song where she said Charlie Puth should be more famous and more well-known. And he talked about one of the reasons why he felt like he wasn't super popular was because he wasn't really exposing himself as a person. And so now he's a lot more online. He's expressing who he is. He's just had a kid. He has a new record coming out, Whatever's Clever, sort of as an answer to Taylor Swift. But I thought that was interesting that
it's
he
definitely
even
clever,
recognized.
and he's definitely clever. I think he's one of the great talents. I've always, from a record making perspective, there are always people I bow down before, as a person who sits around thinking, should I put this guitar on or this synth or whatever, and making those kind of nuts and bolts decisions about how records are made. I listen to his records and I think, you got that right. And his singing is immaculate, and his playing is immaculate, and his musicianship is, it's not for everyone, because sometimes it lacks a bit of deep soul, but actually when you hear him sing, that soul is there. So I'm always behind whatever he's doing. I think he's a great talent.
Do you know who he has on his record?
Yeah, actually, when you sent it to me, I looked it all up and I was like, holy cow, I can't wait to hear this.
Michael McDonald, who was with a band called the Doobie Brothers. He's amazing. And Kenny G plays a little me.
I won't do my bit on soprano saxophone because I don't want to get soprano saxophone canceled, because that would
come
happen.
on, do it.
No, if we get really low on energy resources, we could just melt a few down. Like,
Can we?
No harm in that. Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
And do you guys know Kenny Loggins? He did the theme to Danger Zone with Tom Cruise movie.
Oh, yeah.
He's a fabulous talent. So he brought all these people on. He actually even had Jeff Goldblum on piano. I saw Jeff Goldblum in concert. He's fantastic. He's hilarious and a very, very excellent jazz pianist, by the way. Old school and new school is kind of cool, right?
Gaga did it a while back, right? She did that kind of crooner throwback thing with, was it Tony
Bennett.
Did I dream that?
He did a duets album, and she was one of the people who came on.
Yeah, and then she parlayed that into some sort of mini tour. She kind of wore that gown for a while. In the way that she and artists,
only she can.
Well, one of the great things about being very bold and brave about your visual expression, your presentation, is it enables you to pivot more easily, because you've set goalposts. When people listen to your record, we talk about what they expect to hear. When you set it up that you're going to have crazy chords, they expect to hear crazy chords. If you set it up that they only get a 4-bar loop, well, that's what they expect, and it's hard to change. What Gaga has done so well is just set you up for whatever she does next, whether it's a crazy haircut, whether it's a crazy outfit. And then she can suddenly be, nah, this week I'm a retro crooner, and you're just going to buy into it. And guess what? People do.
I agree with you 100%. What's incredible about Gaga is her ability to actually fold herself into those genres vocally. The way she sings, the way she utilizes her voice in different genres is incredible, because jazz is not an easy thing to sing. And it is definitely a certain style that you should study, like musical theater, and you sing jazz, or you sing rock, you sing pop, or you sing R&B, knowing all those riffs.
Right.
So the fact that she's that versatile vocally, I find incredible. Besides the look, she's also a vocal chameleon. So I mean, it's huge respect to her. Huge
100%.
respect to her. Now, I have a question for you, and Yulia, you can answer on this too, because it's interesting. When I was teaching at Musicians Institute, the whole idea for the singer was to learn every genre as that genre specifically. Like literally, if we would sing a song, they'd have to do all the riffs as the lead singer sang them. So if we did What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, they had to sing it like he sang it, do all the riffs like he sang it. If they did a rock song, they wanted them to sing with grit, so they were asking all these vocalists to be as versatile as possible. And then when I was teaching an artist development class, I was asking them to sing those songs as they would themselves, because my idea was, what's your original interpretation of that song? Are you wanting to be a singer at a wedding? Or are you wanting to be an original artist? So it's an interesting thing that even though Gaga does all those styles, it's still Gaga's voice. And, what are your thoughts on that, Andrew?
I think that you should learn to sing if you're a vocalist, and you should learn strength and control. You should learn resonance, strength, and control. That's what singing is. If you are a performer and you'd like to be a household name, you'd better dive deep into what your personal sound is, what your unique sound is, because if you don't develop that, you, as you say, will be a wedding singer. And there's nothing wrong with that. Wedding singers, you do a difficult job and you're very versatile and you sing different things. But we're talking about people establishing and developing their unique voice, then it's probably not a great idea to be spending all your time impersonating other people.
I agree with that. What do you think, Yulia, as a listener?
I have two opinions. There's this book that's called Mastery by Robert Greene, and he talks about like the apprentice and master relationship in art, and especially like in the arts and like medieval Europe and all that stuff. And basically, I think that it's important for someone who wants to be like another person, like the master, they need to learn how to do it. But then there's this other book that I love. I love Marshall McLuhan. I talk about him in my classes and everything. But basically, he has this thing in his book where he talks about the amateur as being a person. It's better to be an amateur inside of a space than to be a diehard. Because when you're a diehard, you don't get to see the space in the newness. And so when a person comes into that space without knowing the rules, you're able to change the rules, and that people that are so used to that space are used to. So I think it's both. I think that it's okay to learn both, to have a balance, but I think to get yourself, like to find yourself, to find your voice, you're going to have to pull yourself out of there. And even in content too, in content creation, yeah, it's okay to copy other people, but eventually you're going to have to start building your own style. You're going to start building your own content, but you have to watch somebody do it first. You have to feel comfortable and then eventually start to build your style. Because if you want to be different, if you want to be a leader in your art or whatever you're doing, you're going to have to build your voice. So that's what I think.
Yeah,
no,
it's probably a bit of both, right? It probably is.
Yeah, because you have to learn it and then you have to master it in your own likeness. And I think that's what all three of us are really wanting to do with our workshops and with what we're talking about now, is helping each individual person find that originality, find that signature sound, find what is uniquely you, as opposed to sounding like everybody else out there. You want to be commercially accessible, but you also want to have an identity that makes you original, that makes people want to gravitate towards you and come to you. And I think that's really the people that succeed the most, are the most authentic and have a unique way of expressing themselves through music.
So I think nearly always those are your household names. And you may as well set your goal at household name. You'll see where things take you, but that may as well be the goal. I always come back to this word bravery. I always come back to just encouraging people to be as brave as possible, brave in their writing, brave in their presentation, brave in their collaborations. brave in where they go, where they play their music, where they get their music. The whole thing, I really think, is based on how brave can you possibly be? How far outside your comfort zone can you push yourself? Because it's in that space that you get the growth and you get that unique identity growth, I think.
That's so true. It's interesting. I always said in my classes, why is it on Halloween we could put an outfit on and go out and be dressed like a hooker or like a banana, or like something ridiculously silly?
Hey, that's my word.
That's your word, banana. But wear it proudly without any apology whatsoever. And yet when it comes to expressing ourselves artistically, we need to be given permission. We really need to be given permission. And yes, be braver is such a true
Right. And of course,
message.
there's only one person that can ever give you permission, and that person is
you.
your very good self. That's it.
That's true.
And
Not your
so
mom.
Have a little conversation with yourself and ask yourself, do you give yourself permission? You can say it out loud. Do I give myself permission to do whatever it is I need to do to explore this? And I hope the answer is yes.
I do too, because it's a giant playground out there and we need some people to have fun.
That's right. That's right. Annika's always bringing out fun, but that's where it's at. Stay playful. Be playful in your experimentation. Don't worry. Like, it's so easy to press delete and nobody remembers failures, everybody. Nobody remembers failures. When we go back and we look at the careers of some major artists, there's amazing stuff out there. The most famous, I think, is one of Post Malone's early things. It's truly awful. It's cringeworthy and makes you jump right out of your skin. We're talking about one of the world's biggest stars. Nobody remembers failures, so get after it.
I do remember one, Super Bowl, Janet Jackson.
Failure. I mean, can you call that a failure? Can you really call it a failure?
No,
out of
that
that
was a costume
failure.
mishap.
YouTube came out of
Of
that
course not.
failure. Did you guys know that? That YouTube, because these guys wanted to share the
No, tell
video,
us.
they wanted to share the video of Janet. They couldn't find a place to share it until they made a website, and that's YouTube. Because of that, YouTube came out. Like, they built YouTube.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Right. Even in failure, some crazy door opens and some
Maybe
opportunity
you fail,
presents
but the other
itself.
people
It
don't.
But you
shouldn't have been
got to
called-
try. You got to try. Yeah. Right.
It shouldn't have been
Totally.
called You Boob. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm not sure they would have got her permission for that, but
No.
hey, if you don't ask, you don't know.
But that's why we got YouTube
It's
now.
YouTube. It should be called You Boob.
All right. So, I think I got two interesting ones back to back here.
Okay.
They don't make any sense. This week, Google released their music generation engine. This is something to compete with Udio and with Suno, our existing big AI music generation platforms. Okay. It's called Lyria or Lyria, Lyria. They are touting this as something that can generate music from text prompts in seconds. It produces vocals, instrumentation, full compositions. Well, you've heard this story before. I think what makes this a little bit more unique is that they're giving creators a choice about the structure of the composition, which is new. So up till now, the existing generators, you just put something in and you get something back. It's like, here's an entire sausage. You don't get to say, like, how many pieces it's in or what's inside. And the reason that they're doing this, and me and many of my friends in the film music world have talked about this over many coffees in the last few years, which is to address the enterprise need of your major production houses, which are doing, I think, primarily unscripted work, because Google are saying themselves, they position it as a tool for creators, YouTubers, podcasters, filmmakers, I think that should be in caps, needing royalty-free background music on demand. Now, I knew this need would occur. I knew they'd get here. And when we talked about it, I said, well, we know how to do it, and we know how to train it, and we know how to make it. Annika's reaction is kind of revealing. You don't look too happy about this. And I said to the people I was talking to, I'd like to take this further, and I had some pretty cool meetings. And I was like, the thing is, we're going to need about $1 billion. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I know how to do this and I know how to make it and I know what's involved, but it's going to cost a fortune in compute to train, to test and to deploy. And that was the end of that conversation, because I am not Google, but Google is Google, and they have seen fit to use their resources to make this product. Okay. So, thoughts?
Well, considering instrumental music that is used for film and television is my husband's entire career through Warner Brothers, that's a scary thought. Look, the ball is rolling, Andrew and Yulia. there is nothing we can do to stop it. So my question is, how do we learn to live with it? And how do we learn to differentiate ourselves from it if we can? I think there'll be a lot more happening in the next 2 years. They'll probably write a musical on the spot. I don't know. We're just going to get to a point, as they said, 3 to 5 years, where artificial intelligence is going to be able to pretty much override so much of the work that goes into creation of music. The question I have is, again, like we spoke in our first episode, is the authenticity of having a real artist behind the work that we're doing, behind the idea of why that composition came to play, going to be more valuable than listening to something that might be robotic or copying what has already been done? I don't know if I have the answer to that.
Yeah, well, some stats you might like are, in surveys in 2025, 72% of consumers say they prefer human-created content. So when you ask them, that's what they said. At the same time, 68% of working musicians are very concerned about AI replacing them. And then there's an average of 31% reduction in perceived quality when people know that it's an AI authorship.
But again, as I had mentioned before, it depends on the generation. Some people will have only known this because they grew up with it, not having been aware of what came before, although we have YouTube, as you mentioned, Yulia. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Yulia?
I think, another book. It's called The Death and Resurrection Show, From Shaman to Superstar, and it's a 1985, like, old anthropology book. And I used to be an anthropology major in college. From that book, what I got is, when humans were hunter-gatherers, or if humans are hunter-gatherers now, there are people called shamans who basically are the storytellers of the community. They're the musicians, they're the healers. Like, they have a lot of roles in one person. And so the goal of the shaman was to heal the community. If they went through trauma or whatever was happening, the shaman would be there, would be the center. And so in the book, he argues that the shaman became the superstar. So now we look at artists as shaman. And so I think the shamanism inside each artist will not go away. You can't replace that with AI. AI can't replace a shaman. But AI might be able to replace, elevator music or things like that. But in terms of like shamanistic healing music, seance music, like festival music, I don't think it can replace it, because you still need a human to feel those feelings, to go through like I said, the death and resurrection to come and bring music to us. So I think that, in my opinion, is music is such a fundamental human thing that it cannot be replaced by AI. I think that artists who don't show their process, artists who do not show us that they're shaman, those artists, I think, are going to have trouble. But the artists who are shaman, the artists who take us on the journey with them, I think they're going to prevail. And I think they have nothing to worry about. That's what I think.
Interesting.
I appreciate that. I have one other quick thing, because you're making me think a little bit. Music in so many ways is cultural, and it's carrying those stories. There was an artist that I've been following since 2020 named Monrovia, and he is a folk artist. He is from West Africa, and he escaped the war and came to America. And he sort of has done a resurrection of Appalachian mountain music, in the sense that he plays the ukulele. And Appalachian mountain music, for those of you who don't know, was originally protest songs, fiddles from Ireland. They had church songs from the Black communities, and a lot of people playing banjo and fiddle, and all of this music getting together. And they'd sit on a front porch and they would write this music, which eventually became bluegrass and today's country. So I've been following this man, Monrovia. He's traveling around the world, and he's telling his story about how he escaped the war and how he came to the United States. And he writes poetic, beautiful, soft music with the ukulele, and he has the fiddle, and he has the same kind of background, interestingly, coming from West Africa and incorporating that into today's world. And they're calling it bedroom folk. So the whole story behind it, the whole vision of who he is and why he's doing this music and what he is trying to tell the world is incredibly impactful. And Yulia, thank you for reminding me so I don't get so discouraged at times about the whole shaman thing, because that's really the truth of what music is about. It's the story. It's who it comes from. It's who's sharing that with you, and that vision, that telescope, that magnifying glass through their eyes of what the world is. So yeah, AI cannot do that.
Because it
For
can't
sure.
live a
Thank you
life.
for sharing
So
that.
And then just one more thing I would say about this is that I have spent the better part of nearly 25 years or so making music for TV shows, films, commercials, you name it. And I think there's a fundamental limitation in AI right now. These generation tools are very impressive if you want very specific things that it's being trained on. It's as good as its training data, one. And most of the training data has been around pretty basic pop. They've taught it about, the format regarding intro, verse, chorus, pre-chorus, things like that. So that's the first fundamental kind of limitation, because that is a limitation and it's not how we write in the real world. We are aware of those kind of templates and those formats, but we don't write within them. We write around them, right? And we know what works. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we change. As the timeline progresses, as something very subtle and nuanced happens, we know how to change a color of the music so that it just feels a bit different, so that it just is a bit more this or a bit more that. And for anyone who's worked with filmmakers and producers and things like that, know that they put a tremendous amount of energy into their work and they do not mess about. Like, you can get a cue disapproved for having one thing that just felt slightly weird or didn't quite jive with a character's vibe or something in the narrative, or what if something changes in the picture, right? This idea of a one-stop shop for background music is nonsense. I don't think this will be tremendously dangerous for the people who know how to work with other people who are trying to create a complicated product. And there's one other thing I would say is that when you look at AI and the way that it generates now, it is not on a timeline. And you could be confused by this. You might think, wait, but they just said it can do it in sections. Yes, it can. But also, Suno already kind of does. They just don't tell you what those sections are. But really, in the real world, AI is not working on a timeline. It's not actually changing over time. And it can't take prompts that change over time. Right? Do you know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's why we don't have AI film editing, which reacts. There's nothing reactive in this technology. It's all before the fact. And I think that's a huge limitation. And I don't see that changing until we have a massive energy revolution. And the reason is that we're basically limited by compute power. This is something, in my opinion, that the AI could do in the long run. I think they could probably do it now if you assigned enough resources, but we can't afford that. I don't think we can afford it.
Quantum computers.
I think we've got to get to quantum computing, and we have to have a way to power and cool all that. And we've got energy resource problems on planet Earth. I don't think this jump is coming for at least 5 or even 10 years, or at least in the next major energy revolution. So don't worry too much.
Okay, one last little thing, because I love that you said that, and it's true. There's the nuances of how you compose and how you write, how I write. There's a signature. There's a style. There's certain chords I'm going to go to, certain things I'm going to do that a machine might not necessarily be able to copy because it's on the fly. And like you said, we do grow. Artists do grow. If you look at the first record of somebody, Taylor Swift, for example, look at her first record, was very, very country, very cute. And now she's expanded to more pop, little folk, she's constantly evolving. And so I don't think it's possible to replicate that in an AI artist.
Yeah, I think they're going to capture some very low-hanging fruit with this stuff.
Yes.
If someone is making a show on a very low budget and they're like, oh man, I just need something to go along in the background here.
All the reality
But you know what?
shows.
Here's the truth, right? Those people that I just described, they were going to pay you about $100 to use your music. Don't worry about it. This doesn't actually, yeah, right. If this doesn't actually dent the real money-making opportunities in the industry, in my opinion. And that's what we're looking at here.
I think definitely the money, but also just the creativity behind it. Not losing that human significance of us representing various generations and cultures and what is happening in the world. Art is a reflection of what is happening in our society, and we cannot lose that. And we don't want our society to become artificial.
I can just tell you that on the ground, the phone keeps ringing with people with commercial pitches.
Okay.
They are not choosing to generate the music for major international campaigns. They want composed music. Nothing in that landscape, as far as I can tell, has changed one bit.
Good.
So we have this Google's Lyria, whatever. In the same week, we have our first conviction for AI music fraud. Somebody made $8 million by flooding the platforms with AI-driven content. They used the technology to also create engagement, false engagement. And so that promoted the music. So they're using AI all the way, push. And they consider that fraud. Well, it's an interesting conversation to have whether that actually is fraud or is that just effective marketing. I wouldn't like to pass judgment, but it's an interesting one. In any case, they will be going to prison. It was a federal case, which is also interesting. I know. So at the same time, in this one breath, we've got this proliferation of AI created music, and somebody else is going to prison for using it.
See, again, it's original responsibility. Let's go back to that. It's original responsibility. It's not the platforms that this music was distributed on. It is each individual person is being held responsible, just like that's what the Supreme Court was saying at the top of the hour. So interesting.
Right. It's both. It's fascinating.
Yulia, is that like a plant? Yeah. Is that the industry plant we talked about or the marketing plant that we talked about? How does that apply to social media?
Well, I think they got paid. So I think they got on the creator programs because of their music, and they got paid from YouTube, Spotify, Apple. And so they got sued for that. So it's like the platforms paid them because of how good the music was and how much engagement they were getting. But it sounds like it was just fake engagement. So they made the songs, flooded it with fake engagement, and then the platforms paid them money. And so I think that's where the gray area or the difficulty is, where when you're a creator and you're making. Could you tell us
how? Okay. I'm sorry, I was going to ask you, how do you flood the market?
Well, I kind of saw like the way that they were doing stuff like this, where they were making like fake jazz bands and they were making like fake jazz artists inside of YouTube, and then they were just either boosting the posts or they were getting bots to watch the videos. And then also on Spotify too. But
Did you say jazz?
Yeah, it was specifically jazz, like jazz musician, jazz like AI artists. They were pushing this.
I have more questions.
I just remember that it was like some
Yulia,
jazz
you
stuff.
might not know this musician. I'm going to tell you a musician's joke because I just can't stop myself. Okay. What is the difference between jazz and rock?
What?
Rock is a style where you have 3 chords and 10,000 fans. But jazz is a style where you have 10,000 chords and 3 fans.
Oh.
So it's that is so, sorry.
No.
And I love jazz. I'm sorry. And I love jazz. And I play jazz and I support jazz and I do everything there is to support jazz, but it is also funny. And you know, it's like, it is peculiar that of all the genres they could have decided to fake with the listenership and the engagement and the viewership. Like, what possessed them to be like, we're going to corner this fake jazz market, you know, with those 5 people are going to be hoodwinked. Like, what are they thinking?
I think it's like people who study, like people like studying to that music, and also lo-fi too. I know that people are lo-fi music as well. They've been like AI, that's been huge, like AI music. And then like rain sounds and all this stuff, like all of those, like study music, basically.
So we as a society have to decide whether we're comfortable offloading background brain stuff to a machine or whether we need to sit around and make it. Okay. I think that shouldn't dent us too badly.
I'm going to share something now. TikTok. Okay.
TikTok.
Okay, TikTok. Okay. Obviously, we all know that TikTok ban is over. That the US and China were able to ink out a deal around who owns the different stakes, but ByteDance owns about 20% minority stake, but they also still own the actual algorithm, which is good. For me as a creator, if ByteDance did not own the algorithm, I would leave. I need to make sure that it's still, that the algorithm is still growing and it's still staying healthy and it's not like in, I don't know, the American marketing side of things. And so I think that this is good for creators and artists because that means, and this is, I always, whenever my students would ask me, what is going to happen when TikTok gets banned? I'm like, there are other For You algorithms. It's not just TikTok. You have YouTube Shorts, you have Instagram Reels, even Spotify has its For You algorithm. Twitch has a For You algorithm. So basically, this is TikTok being like this whole saga being over around TikTok is so important to content creators and also to artists, because that means you can continue to make content about your music, about your interests, and you don't have to pay. If you know how to use this algorithm, you don't have to pay to boost your content. Like you can create content and you can continue to build your following, the people that support you and things like that. And so me as a creator who's on the TikTok creator program, I'm very happy about this because finally things are a little more stable. But I think it's really important for creatives and artists to now fully dive into the For You algorithms, to fully understand what they're about. I made a video today about how it's really important to understand the algorithms, because think of them like a video game. If you're playing a video game, you, the content creator, you're the player of that game basically. And if you don't know how the pattern recognition, how to beat the boss, how to build this video, how to make, how to write a hook, how to write a story, how to share content, then you're not going to be able to get the algorithm to push your content. And so now more than ever, you have to understand how to use these For You algorithms, how to make content around them, because it's not going away. And I'm really excited about this.
Yay.
Yay.
Very cool. There you go.
That's awesome.
All right. So I brought an artist along today to share. So this is Ruby Francis. She is out of the UK. She got known for doing something in the drill genre, which is an interesting genre in itself and very cool and really represents a lot of the culture in London and some of the melding of cultures, which is super cool as well. And having grown up there, I'm sort of very familiar with that. Thought her work was cool. Thought this is an interesting vibe. We've clearly got art as a value. I see it from the get-go. This Reels page, if you take a look around here, it feels organic. It doesn't, definitely notice that it doesn't feel too polished. Can't wait to hear it. There's a bit of like real life stuff. There's a bit of, really type stuff. It's an interesting mix. I think it's quite good. She's clearly trying a lot of things, which I think is really, really good. Well, let's Yulia speak on that. Let's have a listen to some of her work. Yeah, I mean, from the get-go, that's so interesting. And that is someone who's doing what they do. She's showing us so many things at once. She's a normal person. She lives in a normal place. She's pretty good at playing the keyboard. She likes music that sounds like garage or drill or stuff like that, right? We learned so much and so interesting that this is the one that went nuclear. This particular video, check out the one next to it. So Jazz Cafe, that venue, which is a pretty big London venue that I am familiar with, and big artists play there, right? Yulia, do you have any insights for us as to why?
Yes, of course.
The first video got 78.7 thousand views, and the second one got just over 3.5. What's going on? I would have thought that video 2 would have been a bit more like widely popular. What's happening?
I would say it's because she added a title to the video. So she's kind of like bringing you in on a story. It's kind of like a game. Like if I were to do this, this is what it would sound like. So now you're preparing yourself to listen. She used keywords like garage. So she used keywords like that on the screen. And that's really important. And then also she looks very like she's at home just hanging out, and you came to hang out with her, and it feels like a FaceTime video, basically. Like you're about to FaceTime and she's showing you something. That's why it did so well, because it was organic in the way she looks and how she basically like put us into her world very quickly, and also because she used those titles on screen. Where the other video, she didn't have any titles. She didn't give us any context. We don't know what is going on. She didn't tell us anything. And also her face, you could see her face. So in the first video, you could see the side of her face. And in the second video, we see her back. So in videos where your face is front and center is so important. That's why FaceTime videos, the CEO of Instagram, he said that videos where there's more face, like more talking head or just a person's face, that will do better. The algorithm's going to prioritize those videos. So I think like not showing your back, like having your videographer go in front of you and even in the audience and then show you that way, that's way better than showing the back of your body. You have to show us the face. Pretend like you're FaceTiming someone and you're bringing them into your world, and then add context by adding in the title. Because again, people don't decide to open this video. The algorithm serves it to people. So you have to give the algorithm as much information as possible about what this video is about. The second video, we don't know what it's about. But the first video, she took us on a journey. She showed us her home. Like she took us into her thought process, into her musicality. So I think that's why it did a lot better.
Annika, what's your take?
She's badass on that keyboard. I don't think we have enough women that are instrumentalists as well as songwriters. And I think it just shows she's having a really good time. Her rhythm is awesome. She kind of looks at the camera as like, check this out. So it's not just about being a pretty girl on stage that sings. It's about really just workshopping and showing us inside her home, you know, the hours of practice this person obviously went through to get to the level that she's at. So I think that is also possibly why it resonated, speaking into something that I consider to be rare.
So that lot to get from all that, right? She's showing her skill. That's the number one thing. It's so important that the format in which you share these videos, how they look, feel, that you include these keywords. It's such an easy thing to overlook. Oh, that was cool. I played this thing. It was so cool. I'm just going to put it up online. Nope.
Is some of it just also a fluke once people start looking and the traffic kind of drives its own way towards her video? Was it one of her first ones, or is it timing? Are there other elements that go into this, Yulia, besides pure talent?
I think it's what you said. I think that it's not normal to see a woman play the keyboard. And I think it's those things. It's kind of like, wow, look, she's a badass and she's bringing us into this space. And I think that in this new era of music, an artist needs to be very multi-dimensional. They need to be able to play music, sing. I mean, they need to be able to do a lot of things. And the more talent you have, the more you can share the different aspects. So then your interest graphs kind of collide. So people who love the keyboard might collide with people who love the singing, and then it collides together. And then now you have different people with different interests connecting to her music. And I think that's why the algorithm chose this video, because she's not just singing, or the other video she's singing, but she's showing you a different aspect to her she is. And I think that's why I think it resonated with a lot of people. Because she's a woman, because it's the keyboard.
You know, we see she's got nearly 14,000 followers, right? Which is a great start. She's probably headed for way more than that. Yulia, if you had her on the show, which we hope to in the future, what's one thing you would say to her to say, and Annika, you too, in terms of everything you see and hear? You guys, if you had one thing to offer and say, I think this might move the needle for you, what would it be?
I always say talk to camera. I always say share your story, talk to the camera. Like, just tell your story, sing to the camera, perform to the camera, like show your face, because people who show their faces, who break the fourth wall, and you're going to win. That's what I say.
That's the first thing I thought is exactly, I'd like to see a close up of her face, singing or talking, or just as some sort of a reveal. But I love the funk. I love the syncopated playing that she's playing, rhythmic and funky and cool. I miss that in music. We don't have a lot of that these days. And so in that regard, there's just something very knee deep about this person. I want to know more about her.
Let's hear a couple more things before we leave.
Okay.
Might delete later, so she's leaning on that little trend, right? Which was it's kind of a TikTok trend of sorts, right? Made this, might delete later. I've seen that a lot with artists. It gives you a pretty easy out if you're like, well, this is not permanent. What's nice about that is it gives you the scratch pad feel, right? Which you should all have in your minds anyway. Every time you create something, it should be scratch pad vibes. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. The joy is now you can put something out and tell people that. Take it down, leave it up, see what happens, whatever. There's no penalty for failure. Say one more.
It's ephemeral, darling.
You always on.
just having a good time. She's flirting. She's wearing high heel shoes. It was a cool room. I don't know where that was. There were like these lights and this long, it was like a library or a dining room. What was it?
Nobody knows, but what we do know is that was a much bigger production, right? That had edits, it had cuts.
Oh, sure. You're talking about the actual
filmed.
work. Yeah.
I mean, when you compare one of these things, she's playing a rough song out of her speakers and dancing around.
True.
And right next door to that video is something that looks like it probably cost 10 grand. So there's an interesting juxtaposition. I don't know whether that's on purpose or whether that's just spaghetti at the wall. Let's see what works.
Well, the room was vibey. It was like that long angled shot, and they probably had the lighting, and then she just cut, edit. You're looking at it from the visual perspective of how it was done technically. And I was just looking at, as a girl, she's wearing those high-heeled shoes and getting on and off the table and just kind of having fun. I was looking at it from just the ability to be so smooth with those shoes on, Seriously,
right.
I always talk about
I didn't think too much about the agility requirements.
You're not
for that
going
footwear.
to.
Yeah, no, that's probably outside of my skill set.
I was always looking for a face.
Definitely, but Yulia could appreciate this.
Yeah, I would say I was always looking for her face.
Because I'm always talking
about more
face,
face time, especially in the beginning, the first 3 to 4 seconds.
Oh,
you need to show your face. And so, let's say you do have a really cool table like that. Like,
how did that register?
It was just a table, and I'm just like, what am I looking at? What the hell is this? Right? So I'm swiping. I don't know what this is. I'm swiping.
Right.
But if you show me your face and maybe a title, now I'm understanding what's happening. Now I'm here with you. So that's what I would do for that.
Right.
I think people are just having fun. They want to show something sexy. But I'm just going to go back to the shoes for a second, because one of the things I had my students do in the last showcase, I said, before your final show, I want you to wear your shoes to rehearsal. Wear your shoes that you're going to wear at the show in rehearsal, because you don't want to put them on that night and go, oh my gosh, I have no way of centering myself to sing because I'm not grounded. I have to be able to walk the stage. I have to be able to move comfortably, all those things. So videos like what she's doing there, obviously, you're not going to be singing a song as more music video kind of vibe than a live
Annika brings up a really interesting point about rehearsal, which if you aren't familiar with the idea of a dress rehearsal, get familiar. I always tell people when they say, oh, it's going to be great on the night, that just makes my hair stand on end. And I'm like, let's make it great tonight. And then we'll know that, a week from now, you'll know it won't be a surprise. Never, ever, ever make your first performance the performance. Never, ever, ever under any circumstances. And there's a tremendous benefit from playing something that you're going to do, whether it's original, whether it's a singing performance, a dance performance, doesn't matter what it is. Do it in front of people that you care about. That's the rule. If you are getting ready for a performance in anything in any genre, make sure you have performed it at least once in front of people that you care about, because that adrenaline rush that you will get when you do it, you will learn things that you cannot learn in any other way. You can prepare yourself and write notes and all this stuff, but unless you've got that fear running through you of, well, how does this feel to the people I care about? You will really not get the benefit of the rehearsal, and you'll have to find out on the night, and that's not fun for anyone involved.
Absolutely 100% true. And I even say go out and just do an open mic. Go do something, get your feet wet before you get up there. But there is a little bit of a myth, Andrew, that you want your dress rehearsal to suck. Because if the dress rehearsal the night before the show is the better show, then your show is not so, you've heard that, right? At least.
I have another rule. No rehearsals the night before a show. Ever, ever, ever. For so many reasons. Fatigue.
I know, that's true. In this world, your voice and all that.
I can't tell you how many times I've been in shows, playing or singing or whatever, and people have been like, oh yeah, we'll do it the Friday, shows on the Saturday. I'm like, no way. I'll do it the Wednesday or the Thursday, and Tuesday's too far.
It's
got to be Wednesday or Thursday. You got to have a recovery day, and you want the freshness, because there are things that you learn when you go to sleep for a couple days. There are things that go in and get encoded in that you cannot account for in any kind of organizational way. You have to just get through that, and then it marinates.
I was just going to say, you're going to marinate it in the kitchen, and
that's what it is. I mean, it's amateur hour for me when people are like, oh, it's cool, meet you on Friday, we'll play the show on Saturday. I'm like, no way, no thanks, no.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the other thing I'm going to say about before a show, just talking about the night of the show, please get there early. I'm so tired of people showing up like at the 11th hour, but getting there early and walking that stage just as you're setting stuff up. Just pace it, own it, walk on and off that stage, make it yours in your shoes. Again, I think that helps a lot. You got to kind of claim territory like an animal in a good way and make it more of yours and that room is yours. It will help a lot.
Right. And it's always cold in there when there's no bodies in the venue.
Oh my gosh.
And you're like,
your sound check's going to be awful, by the way. It's not going to be the same as when the crowd comes in. That's another thing people don't realize.
Boy, did I just go through that in a theater in Carpinteria where the sound check was kind of weird and everyone's like, it's so loud. And I'm like, because there's not 300 people in here. And when they all sit down, their bodies are all little curtains that are going to absorb this sound. And whatever you think the issues are, like, it's fine. It's calibrated. It's fine. It was no, it's going to be too loud. It's like, no, it's going to be just fine. So you experience, guys, experience. Play more shows, perform more, get this experience, and then you will know you don't have to worry about some stuff, and you will also know that you do have to worry about some other stuff.
And we'll tell some funny stories because I've got some good ones, and it'll be lessons, so you all don't have to fall on your face.
Right?
We did it for you. Andrew and I did it for you.
We did. Don't pour beer in amplifiers. That's one.
That's a good. When you print out your set list, don't do it in 11 font.
There's nothing funnier than watching 8 people squinting at their feet.
What's the next song?
Or, worse. What was that next song?
I can't read that coin. Hey, can I add one little thing, which is absolutely, there's no reason, but I'm just going to do it. I can't stand people with giant water bottles with when they're on the stage. I'm like, dude, please put the water bottle, the baby bottle, especially with the little sucky tip on them. I'm like, no.
Oh my God. Okay.
So when I am wrangling a band, when I'm MDing,
yes,
when I'm musical directing, I have a thing. When I get to the venue, I assume that my little musical children don't know what they're doing, and they've been in the business for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, these people, the best of the best of the best. And I just assume that they're kindergartners, right? So I walk around, I put a set list in front of everybody's station, it's thousands of dollars worth of gear of everyone's station. I still put my A4 piece of paper in front of them, and there you go. That's yours, that's yours, that's yours. Because my responsibility, the least I can do is control what I can control. Then I put a towel down for everyone, a little hand towel, and a bottle of water.
Yes.
That's your station ready to go. Now, if you need to bring blue M&Ms with you, then you do. But that's the bare minimum. And when you are looking after a show or looking after people who are in your show, do not expect them to come prepared. It's great when they do, or if they do, but if your future depends on it and you're looking to make it count, make sure you take care of the little stuff. It's really worth it.
Your responsibility. Do you see how we just went full circle? Back to
church,
it's
preaching
individual responsibility. But
Right.
I am an advocate for a glass. It's a
On
lot
stage.
nicer.
Yeah, except for,
That looks a lot nicer than.
It's true, but if you have a lot of people and it's rock and roll, that glass is getting broken and
different.
someone's
No,
pedal is
that's
getting
true.
destroyed. So that's why
that's
it's always
true.
a screw-on bottle of water is like, it's hard to mess that up. Though I've seen it done.
We had some good ones today.
If you do say so yourself.
I think so. Yulia's like,
Annika's
I
in
don't
the
want
zinger market now. She watched a couple episodes. She's like, ready with a zinger and zing.
Yulia's like, behave children. Speaking of bringing children to the game.
Like a teacher.
Today she actually called us 5-year-olds.
Yes,
that
you guys are
was an
like
escalation.
7th graders.
It's like mama up there. Honey, I did stand-up comedy. That's a whole other story.
That's a different
love
podcast,
that.
isn't it?
That's
It is
so
a different.
cool.
Me and Jim Gaffigan. I had a group
like-
in New York. Yeah.
You're like the shaman
Wow, that's
whisperer.
cool.
Seriously.
All right. Thank you, Annika. Thank you, Yulia. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for
you, Andrew.
tuning in, for listening. And thank you for
Thank you,
subscribing.
Andrew.
Thank you for your support. When you support us, you are supporting live music. You are supporting real artists and the work that they are doing. So go check out Ruby Francis. She's at Ruby_Francis on Instagram. You can check us out. We are Artist Amplified Show everywhere you know how. The artists in the workshop sometimes do or do not know that they were featured. We always hope to get them on and get their opinion because we want to work with them just like we want to work with you. Workshop your product, workshop your career, and get you to where you want to go. We'll see you guys next time.